Human trafficking is an overlooked global problem. The transatlantic slave trade has been abolished for years, as well as the use of slavery in most developed countries around the world. Although the use of the word slavery has virtually disappeared in human dialogue, the oppression and exploitation has remained unfazed in modern times. The United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime describes human trafficking as having three main components: the act, the means, and the purpose. The United States has condemned slavery with the Emancipation Proclamation, but today slavery has taken a new form and is masked as human trafficking. In regions of the world such as South and Southeast Asia, along with China, Russia, and North Africa, including the Middle East, humans are continually exploited and sold as merchandise in feeder markets.
What is human trafficking? Human trafficking is defined as the recruitment, transportation, transfer, and harboring or receipt of persons by improper means, such as force, abduction, fraud, and coercion, for the improper purpose including forced labor or sexual exploitation. The definition explains how people involved in human trafficking are forced to go through hardships. People involved in human trafficking are taken advantage of through the methods of coercion, threats, deception, and through the abuse of vulnerability. Human trafficking exploits its victims in a wide range of different ways, such as sexual exploitation, forced labor, and the removal of organs. Human trafficking is the modern-day slavery.
So how prominent do you think human trafficking is in the U.S.?
What do you mean?
Like, how much do you think it happens in the U.S.? Human trafficking.
Not very much.
Not very much? Okay.
Not as high as other countries, but it's still here. We still have it.
I think it's like really bad here. I know they have like brothels that are like undercover as massage parlors, and they have like the sex trafficking and the truck rest stops and stuff. So I think it's like pretty bad here.
Like if it's a big thing?
Yeah, is it a big thing? Yeah.
I mean, there's documentaries about it and like a show about it, so I guess it's a pretty big thing.
What are the groups of people do you think that are affected by human trafficking?
Teenagers?
Teenagers?
Yeah, teenagers, like young kids, like 17 to 50.
Pretty sure they target
Children. And do you know if there are any activities that we do in our daily lives that might contribute to human trafficking?
No, I don't know. Yeah.
You just walk, if something's going on, you just kind of walk by and you don't really pay attention to the people going on, like things going on.
When it comes to human trafficking, people, particularly young adults, do in fact know that it's happening in the U.S. They also believe that not very many people participate in it, and that it doesn't happen very often. Although they know that it's happening in the U.S. and that it's present, there are some common misconceptions when it comes to the details.
But the reality of human trafficking in the United States is much worse than most people think. This year alone, the amount of reported cases for sex trafficking is 2,084, labor trafficking 377, for non-specified cases 242, and for both sex and labor cases 90. Human trafficking generally affects women. Out of the reported cases this year, there have been 2,339 involving women and 321 cases involving men. Out of these cases, 1,757 involve adults and 881 involve minors. The 4 states in which human trafficking occurs the most are California, Texas, New York, and Florida. California, which has a population of 38.8 million, has a total of 477 reported cases. Texas, with a population of 27.7 million, has had about 214 reported cases. New York, with a population of 19.4 million, has had a total of 141 reported cases. And Florida, with a population of 19.9 million, has had a total of 101 cases. Evidently, as a nation, we contribute to trafficking in a number of ways.
But what does that mean for us? How are we contributing to this issue on an individual basis? We can start with the example of clothing. This shirt was made in the Dominican Republic, a country where Haitian children are known to be trafficked for the purposes of sexual exploitation and forced labor, albeit usually in mining or agriculture. Other countries of origin for inexpensive garments include India and China, countries where individuals, including children, are known to be trafficked to sweatshops that produce garments. I could go on for hours listing common products, from sporting goods to cosmetics to technological devices, that are made with slave labor, imported to the United States, and purchased by the average American on a regular basis. But this isn't the extent of our individual contributions to trafficking. The United States has one of the highest demands for pornography and prostitution in the world, and the majority of people trafficked in the United States are women and children trafficked for the purposes of sexual exploitation. Many of these individuals are born in the United States and become victims of trafficking after running away from home or through a relative. Any form of paying for sexual services contributes to this form of slavery, either by taking direct advantage of a trafficked individual or by sustaining an industry that is built on exploitation of the vulnerable. Even watching porn without paying for it contributes to the demand for pornographic videos, which are often made using minors, despite contrary disclaimers. That's how we're part of the problem, but how can we become part of the solution? In some cases, such as the sex industry, simple boycott is one of the best initial approaches, but the process of ending U.S. involvement with trafficking doesn't stop there. In order to be part of the solution, it's necessary to be a conscientious consumer and an informed and active voter. Getting involved with local crisis centers, such as Everyone Free, and interacting with global charities, such as Anti-Slavery International, is another great way to get involved. It's clear that individuals being informed and acting responsibly is a necessary part of countering human trafficking. But when should our government step in?
The United States' role in combating the problem of human trafficking is a complicated and often debated topic. Laws concerning immigration, prostitution, labor practice, imports, and even the regulation of the internet all affect this issue. U.S. laws for fighting against human trafficking include the Victim of Trafficking and Violence Prevention Act of 2000. This fights trafficking of persons mainly into sex trade, slavery, and involuntary labor, and provides protection for the victims of trafficking by allowing them permanent residency. There is also the Protect Act of 2003, which protects children from abuse and sexual exploitation, which is a common element of child human trafficking. Some international laws that have set course to define, prevent, and prosecute human trafficking are the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crimes and its related protocol, Smuggling of Migrants by Land, Sea, and Air. Additional implements of international laws that include section against human trafficking includes the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and United Nations Convention for the Suppression of the Traffic in Person of the Exploitation of the Prostitution of Others. There are many more laws to prevent and prosecute human trafficking. We cannot ignore this issue, any more than the previous generation could not ignore the issue of slavery in their days.
About human trafficking, and it gives them information about what to do if you're falling victim to it or you see someone else being victimized, and that goes a long way in real life applications. So as our professor says, be nice to someone.